Welcome to Rant on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I am Xavier Barnett.
Today on the podcast, we do deep dives into A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, The Irishman, and we go into the vault to talk about Back to the Future so Xavier can stop using the excuse, I've never seen one of the greatest movies of all time.
Okay. I don't know about that, but we'll just let you live in that fantasy land. Also, don't forget to like and review us. We're on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, obviously. Hit those like and subscribes. Also, leave us a nice little review. And also comment if you disagree with our opinion, because...
like Xavier saying that Back to the Future is not one of the greatest movies ever made.
If you disagree, call me an idiot and a liar. And that's pretty much what you got to do.
How you doing this week, Xavier?
It's been a pretty good week, the December weeks now we're in, so it's time to
I'm excited. We're in Star Wars month.
I guess.
What do you mean, I guess?
I mean, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from
Mandalorian?
The last two Star Wars months that we had, the solo Star Wars months.
Yeah, but this is different. This is Mandalorian's been going on. We're getting good Star Wars every week, and it makes me excited for Rise of Skywalker. Doesn't it make you excited?
No, it's different. I feel like Mandalorian has a different feel and take on it than.
It has a Star Warsy feel.
Yeah. I don't know it's gonna be very hard to I guess fix what The Last Jedi did.
Yeah.
So
We'll
see what happens.
Any news this week?
Yeah, the big trailer came out.
What I don't watch trailers. Tell the audience what trailer you got excited for.
Well, who are you gonna call? Who am I supposed to call?
The Ghostbusters trailer's been released?
Oh yes, of course.
All right. How did it look? Like, does it make you? Have you seen the original Ghostbusters?
Yeah, I've seen the number one and two. I rewatched it. No, I watched it last year. Nice. I don't know why. One day I was like, "Oh, this is on Netflix. I guess I'll watch it."
I love Ghostbusters. Does it look good?
It looks good. I like it.
It makes you excited for it.
Makes me excited for it. I'm kind of excited. Feels like it's gonna pay homage to the original.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. Like, you can't. Egon's not gonna be in the movie. Egon is like, I love Egon.
Yeah, well, he's the one that's dead, right?
Yeah, he died.
Yeah, so can't do that.
I know, it's unfortunate.
You gotta move on. You can.
You're not wrong.
As long as, like I said, you just gotta respect the originals.
Well, the news I have for you this week, or actually like a couple of hours ago, is the Golden Globes, or the nominees, had just been released. Have you had time to look at them?
No.
Well, maybe you should have made time to look at them, because I know
Awards
you're not
are meaningless and they don't mean anything.
Well, I think the exact same thing about the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards, because we've already done episodes on this podcast on both, and I've said both times that meh to them. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be an interesting year for it, because we look at Best Picture, and the two front runners that I've heard are Irishman and Marriage Story, and this is different from any other year. And you know why?
Why?
These are Netflix movies.
Oh.
And I am shocked that the Academy or the Golden Globes, Hollywood Foreign Press have decided to nominate these kind of movies.
Okay.
Because are you not surprised? Or do you not even care?
I feel, like I said, awards are meaningless and pointless. So if it's a Netflix movie gets it, I could care less.
Well, see, for me, I've been looking at it like this. So for the last decade or so, I'd even go on to say the last 15 years of the Oscars and of the Golden Globes, more times than not, the Best Picture winners, the Best Director winners, the award winners in general are going to movies that are not blockbusters. They're going to the small indie films. I always think of The Artist, or No Country for Old Men, or 12 Years a Slave. These movies that don't make, or Moonlight. Oh my! These movies that don't make money. Or Hurt Locker, that's a really good one as well. They don't make any money, but they are winning Best Picture. No one's going to see them and I think I've said this on this podcast before, I'm a firm believer that you don't need to watch, like, you don't need to make a ton of money to be a good movie, but movies are made to be watched. And if no one's watching a movie, I don't know how you could be nominated, let alone win the most prestigious movie of that year.
Well, it's 100 guys that watched it, so they're trying to. It's pretty much their opinion what they think is the best movie.
You're
You
right.
can't really
You're
use that as a measuring stick. That's why I never cared for it.
But what I like to do is I like to try to think of what I think the best movie is. It's not always my favorite movie of the year. Like in 1993, I'll just give you an example where the Oscars got it right. My favorite movie of all time is that year, Jurassic Park. But the movie that won Best Picture should have won Best Picture, Schindler's List. Like it was, like it's a work of art. It's incredible of how it was filmed as a movie, the story, the scope that it took. You know, I look at Titanic as another one. Like it wasn't my favorite movie of '97, but it was the best movie of '97, like unbiasedly kind of thing, right? Whereas if I was ranking the top 20 movies of 2006, No Country for Old Men is not going to make that list.
Yeah,
The Hurt Locker is not going to do that in 2009.
The Hurt Locker, that's the one with Jeremy Renner, right?
Another one I always like to look at when we talked about this with the snubs of Oscars, Inception, and I always come back to the most original movie of like the last 20 years, not last 10 years for sure, like the most original movie, critically acclaimed, great acting, great story, original, and not even that kind of movie can win. So anyway, to kind of take this back to Netflix, because I've got off track a little bit. The Oscars have been, and the Academy and the Hollywood Foreign Press have been protecting these indie films, so people would still go watch these movies in theaters to make the theaters not just blockbuster relevant, but to make it relevant for these small indie films, right? But if they give these awards to Netflix, won't that just kill the indie film that you would get at the theater?
Well, most indie guys are putting their films on Netflix as well, or
after the fact, though, right?
Yeah.
But that's different. But like they still make their way to theaters, like Green Book last year that won, or Shape of Water 2 years ago that won. These movies, although are critically acclaimed, and people are somewhat seeing them, they're going to Netflix after the fact, but they're still in theaters.
Yeah.
And they don't go to Netflix until after the Academy Awards.
Honestly, I'd argue it's not just I feel like streaming is taking big hits in lots of like movies. Yeah, people are going out to see movies for film, but you're telling me like if Endgame was like in Netflix, was releasing on Netflix, and it was also released in theaters, I feel like a lot more people would start watching it on Netflix.
I don't get why. Like this, the big screen, the big sound, like it just. I'm a movie theater guy, right? I've always been. I'm not someone
you like the theater. Some people don't like the theater. Some people like the fact that they can pause a movie and then watch and go to the bathroom or anything like that, and stuff like that. Which I'm like I don't mind. I like both. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that makes me go to the theater though is for the popcorn. So, if the popcorn wasn't so damn good and addicting, I'd probably be a Netflix guy.
So I have a question for you. Endgame. Would you see if it was available at the same time in theaters, in IMAX, or on Netflix at home? Where would you go see it?
I'd probably see it at home.
Really? You wouldn't go to the theater to see that kind of movie?
The thing is, IMAX doesn't. I never really cared for IMAX or anything like that. It's like, okay, it's nice, and it's. I never noticed like, the noise that you hear in the. I only notice it like literally in the IMAX commercial, and then I forget that.
That's screen size, man. The sound, the screen size. Like, I understand like the little things, maybe that like the. I don't know, how do I describe this, but like the specific sounds that they talk about. You're right. Yeah. I probably don't notice that, but I'll tell you this: I noticed the screen size.
Yeah, but then it's crappy 3D too.
Pardon?
It's crappy 3D. Oh. Plus, like nowadays, like the computers, you can set up your home system to be just as good as a theater. Yeah, it's not that big, but I've seen, like I said before, I've watched crap on my freaking phone, and that's way smaller than a TV or anything like that. So
I know you don't like awards, but were you disappointed with anything from the nominees?
Uh, no.
I was.
I have a very big indifference to it.
I just don't understand how Endgame cannot get a nomination for Best Picture.
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe because people are all butthurt about it.
But I don't understand it. Like the Joker was nominated for 3 awards: Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor.
Yeah.
How does that movie get nominated over Endgame? Explain that one to me.
Well, for most people, the way they see Joker, it's like it's a different take on the superhero genre, right? And because it's not really much of a superhero film, so that's why some people that are into it's like why Jessica Jones was super popular on Netflix because it wasn't really much of a superhero film. It was very low key. Like Endgame doesn't hide that it has the superpower and like it has little tropes and people are kind of I guess some people, so not all. Some people are kind of tired of the oh they win in that. Not me. I love that crap. You can say that to me all day, but
Listen, I'm not saying Endgame is the best movie in the MCU. Unbiasedly, Infinity War is the best film in the MCU, and then probably Avengers is probably the second best, and then there's even debate whether it's the third. But as a culmination of all of the what the MCU has done for the film industry, all the money that it's made, all the critically acclaimed success, they're not just like bringing a blockbuster that makes money like Transformers and it's like just gets panned every time and people hate it but they just go watch it for any reason. These are good movies. It made more money than any other movie ever. Granted, adjusted for inflation, it wouldn't be. But nevertheless, as of 2019, it's made the most money ever and it doesn't even get a nom. Like that makes no sense to me.
yeah.
Now,
Well, that's why you just take it different to the Golden Globes and just not give a damn like I do.
I won't watch
Just
the
live your
Golden
life.
Globes. I haven't watched the Golden Globes in like 4 years. I haven't watched the Oscars in 2 years, and I will continue not to watch it because the best movies don't even have an opportunity to win.
I haven't watched the Oscars ever, or the Golden Globes. I haven't watched any award show. I do not care. I'm the worst person to ask about this.
I do have one more question about it. Not that I care whatsoever, but of the 5 directors nominated for Best Movie, not one of them are female. Any thoughts on that?
What movie was a really good blockbuster that was directed by
Not Blockbuster. Remember, Blockbusters don't get
or
nominated.
movie? What was the number one movie that was directed by
Little
woman?
Women, but that's the one that everyone says should have gotten the nom.
I want to see that though. I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either. But here's the question
looks
I have
good,
for you.
though. I really
Here's the
think
question I
so,
have for you. Do you have to include a woman every year for Best Director? Because if you do, now does that mean that woman is actually worthy of the nomination, or is that just affirmative actioned in?
that's the thin line that's not fun to play around. You know, most people would say yes, you have to nominate them, even if I say whatever's the best at that time. Would be you would nominate, but the problem is in a perfect world, that would be the best person on. But we have some people that are a little bit sexist, so they use that guise of oh they're not really the best. So
Yeah, but then the same question for you this. So let's say we take one of those 5 directors and make sure one of them is a woman, right?
yeah,
Shouldn't one have to be black?
I guess
Shouldn't one have to be Asian?
it's not much Asian directors.
Well, that's kind of racist to say that. You just because you can't name them, I can think of like 3 off the top of my
yeah,
head.
right. You know, I don't watch enough Japanese films.
Oh, Japanese films. I don't need to look at Japanese films.
Hollywood.
I'm just saying. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I can name 3 off the top of my head, but like, so that would be an Asian maybe. So, but either way, a black, a woman. Like, do we have to do that every year? Is what I'm asking. I don't care because, like I said, I don't like these award shows. But if we start affirmative action in the award shows, do the best ever win? And the reason I don't care is because the best don't win as we're speaking about it.
Yeah, honestly, do what they want. I don't care. I'm still not gonna watch it anyways. So.
Fair enough. I'm done with talking about the Golden Globes. We'll have to unfortunately talk about them more when they're presented at the end of January. I'm curious. Did you watch this week's episode of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I did.
Now, I guess this comes down to one simple question. How nostalgic did you find it?
Super nostalgia. There's apparently one of the tables is where Han and shot Greedo.
Yes.
And Greedo called Hannah McClunky.
But like just
That was
going to
edited
Mos
in
Eisley, just like the. Because I don't watch. Well, I guess I don't even know if there are previews to these Mandalorian episodes. But
No, there's not. I don't think
perfect.
so.
I love Disney Plus. Anyways, like just the moment when after the attack and he lands in the bay, and I'm like, that's where the Millennium Falcon was. I think they're on Tatooine.
Yeah, I remember we all watched it together right after we
Our
filmed
last
one
podcast.
of the episode, right?
Yeah,
So,
we all at like 1 a.m. watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Tatooine. And you're like, no, it isn't. I'm like, yes, it is.
yeah, so you were right.
I was. And then go to Mos Eisley. You know, I really thought it was a good episode of the show.
Yeah, some people say it's the weaker episode. Some people didn't like that episode.
Why? What are they saying? I haven't heard.
I haven't heard the reasoning why. I don't join the Reddit. I should probably go join the Reddit Mandalorian subreddit and probably see what people are saying there. But I haven't joined it because I'm scared of spoilers for anything Star Wars related, like Last Jedi. So I haven't been. It's pretty soon.
You mean Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. Sorry. So I don't want to get any spoilers or anything or any leaks. So I haven't been joining those subreddits or anything like that.
I personally don't see why people wouldn't like this episode or why they would think it'd be weaker. I thought it was very interesting of like a story arc, right? I feel like every episode of The Mandalorian so far has dealt with kind of a different issue of what it's like to live in the Star Wars universe or to live in the guild.
A bounty hunter.
Or to be a bounty hunter. And in this case, we're on Tatooine where this rookie bounty hunter is trying to make a name for himself. He doesn't even care about the money.
Yeah. He wants the recognition.
Just wants the recognition, wants to make a name for himself so he can get better clients or better bounties. And he wants to work with Mando. And they work together, and he's untrustworthy, and it's not like it's a new thing. Apparently all the bounty hunters are untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to join the guild. Not that he wants to make a name for himself, right? And so he can join the guild. And Mando needs the money, so they work together, and he gets backstabbed. I liked who the bounty was. Did you catch it?
Yeah, it was May.
Yeah, from
Agents of Shield.
Yeah. The Disney circuit, right? And Mulan, the original Mulan.
Oh, she played Mulan's voice.
She's the original. She's the voice of Mulan in the original.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We saw her.
Disney, making it away. Going from the animation into the superhero, now into the Star Wars. The circuit, the Disney circuit.
Live action. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you excited for the next episode?
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's see what happens.
Hopefully,
I just want him to go find a bunch of stormtroopers and just lay them out. Yeah. 5 shots to the head each.
All right, are you ready to get started with the deep dives?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's start with A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Xavier, what are your opening thoughts on A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
Well, I think it's a beautiful freaking movie. Oh, also, spoiler alerts for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Irishman, and Back to the Future.
And one on Mandalorian in case you haven't heard yet.
Well, we skipped the ball on that, but whatever. Sorry. But yeah, so I thought it was a beautiful movie. Tom Hanks, I don't think you can find a better person to play in the role of Mr. Rogers. As soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, yeah, that's who I picked to be Mr. Rogers. So, everybody in their right mind, I didn't even know they were making the movie, but as soon as I saw the trailer for that, I'm like, that makes 100%. I can't think of anybody else, right? I liked the whole story. It made me more interested in Mr. Rogers as a whole because obviously I seen him growing up. You saw him growing up. He's did it for a very long time, and after he passed, it was very sad. He's forever in our hearts. But yes, that's my opening thoughts.
I'll be honest. This movie was not at all what I expected. I expected it to be a biopic with Rogers as the main character. And that's not what we got in this film. Yes, it had biopic elements, but this was Lloyd's movie. This was Matthew Ray's movie with Rogers as a supporting cast member, supporting character. I was also very worried when this movie came out because, you know, I really thought it might ruin my childhood.
Yeah.
We've been seeing some of this in the last couple months and couple years of making these biopics of these real life characters, and you're like, I can't like them anymore.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit worried, and like I talked a little bit about Judy a couple weeks ago, and that's what I was really worried about. I even think I saw you, Xavier, saying don't do it a few times.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised in this film, or by this film. It won't ruin your childhood. It didn't ruin mine. It showed Rogers as I was hoping they would show him, as a good human being. I like how he deflects questions. He's understanding. I like how they included like old clips from his time as late shows or like his time on Oprah or things like that. I really like Tom Hanks. Again, like you said, Tom Hanks was the only choice to play Rogers. If you're gonna make a movie about Rogers,
Yeah, perfect time to do it too. When Tom Hanks is a little bit older.
Yeah.
And it's getting up there in age.
it's perfect. I think I disliked. I think it was a little bit too long. I think people would criticize that it be slow, but I didn't find it
It's
slow.
not- what do you expect, Mr. Rogers to shoot a bunch of people in the head 5 times each?
I know.
It has to be slow.
I didn't find it a problem, but I feel like that would be a criticism people would have. All right, that's my opening thoughts. Let's deep dive into this. So the movie begins as his television show began all of the time with the theme song "A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood," and Rogers enters as if he was like giving us a real life television show of the neighborhood.
I'm not gonna lie though. When I heard Tom Hanks singing it, I don't think I liked it.
Really?
No.
How come?
So, it just didn't sound like Mr. Rogers to me. That's the only thing. That's my only criticism of him as Mr. Rogers. But
Oh, he doesn't have the voice.
yeah, you don't have the. I can't be like, hell, it's not really a knock because I'm like, shame on you for not having the same voice as Mr. Rogers, right? So it's not really a knock.
Yeah,
But I still didn't like it.
That's good. I respect that. So it does a bit of like the show stuff. So it like puts his jacket away, puts on his shoes. He puts on this picture board, and then he opens doors to kind of talk about some of his friends from the show. And then he opens one on this character Lloyd. He said this is his friend Lloyd. And the film quickly turns into the story of Lloyd. Now, I have a question for you. Did you find this intro confusing initially?
Yeah.
Why?
I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, Mr. Rogers doesn't take real life people's pictures and talks about them.
I felt the same way. I was
is he
like,
meta? Like, is this guy, like, what is going on?
I felt the same way. I'm like, is this? It almost felt like he was doing an episode of the show for the movie.
Yeah.
And I think as the movie went along, we realized that that's kind of what he was doing.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a movie version of his show. Did you like the choice to do it this way?
Well, yes, we'll get into it more probably when you have your questions in the questions period. But we I just understood what I just did.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll I liked it. That's all. I'm gonna
Okay,
say.
good. I liked it. I liked this choice as well because I thought it did a good job giving the audience who might not know who Mr. Rogers was or the show was kind of an idea of what it could look like to make them want to watch the show themselves. It also gives you the kind of person he is as well. So Lloyd's story is very simple. Lloyd Vogel is an investigative reporter. But his kind of go-to is find the negatives of things.
Yeah.
And as a result, nobody wants to be interviewed by him anymore. He has a wife and a child. He clearly loves his wife, even though he has some anger issues. Yeah. He seems to be kind of iffy with his kid, though. Is that accurate? Do you would like iffy with the kid?
Well, he's iffy with the kid because he's never around.
That, and he kind of like, I think he's kind of afraid to because that leads.
He's afraid of being he doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of a certain someone else.
Which is exactly where I was going with this. We also meet his dad, where his dad has been out of the picture for most of his life. When his mom died, his dad kind of just, cut bait and left, and they kind of meet at his sister's third wedding. And the son seems to hate the dad, like, unequivocally.
Yeah.
But the dad seems to be trying to make an effort to get to know the son again, or kind of apologize.
Yeah.
And it leads to a fight at the wedding.
Yeah.
Does that sum up Lloyd pretty well? Did I do a good job, or am I missing anything about Lloyd's story?
I guess you forgot the fact that he likes black women. No, I'm just joking. But other than that, he's good. He's good to go.
What are your thoughts on choosing a character like Lloyd to be the main character of the movie instead of Mr. Rogers when it's called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
I like it because, for storytelling purposes, it's a good choice because you kind of can keep Mr. Rogers as a certain character. I don't think it'd work as well if Mr. Rogers was the main guy. I think it'd be better as having a side character and showing his effect on the side character and his effect of people in the world that they created as well.
I could not agree more with you. It's the best choice you can make, because when you make a movie like this, there's only two options. You either destroy Rogers, making him the main character, because you can't use his like goodness, because then there'd be no conflict. So either you destroy him, or you have another character, a cynic, become a believer. And that's what we're going to get in this movie. We're going to have this negative human being think, oh, there's got to be dirt on Rogers. He's got to be a bad person. Nobody's this squeaky clean. So he's got to become a believer, this cynic.
It's like the Jesus effect.
And I think the only choice is to go this way.
Jesus.
So Lloyd is eventually going to meet Rogers, and Rogers is portrayed as empathetic. He's portrayed as sweet, gentle, caring, i.e. when we first meet him, he's talking to this Make-A-Wish kid, and apparently he's been spending like 45 minutes talking to them that they're late shooting the show.
Yeah, and he does it all the time because he doesn't care. It's about how the kid feels.
Exactly.
Not the money.
It's about his, like, he's the guy that would talk to every single one of his fans if it wasn't for someone grabbing him out of the way.
Yeah, which is good. Not a lot of celebrities do that anymore. They all in it for the money.
But even in fact, like the episode they're filming, he has to set up this tent and he can't do it.
Yeah.
So instead of reshooting it, he just like, sometimes you can't do everything. Which is such an important message for kids to watch. Because kids think they have to do everything. They have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And here you have this guy, this person that people looked up to for decades, saying that, you know what, guys, sometimes you need help. Sometimes you can't do things on your own. It's okay to fail.
Yeah, because you get stronger when you fail, and you learn more from losing than winning.
That's words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, buddy.
In fact, Lloyd doesn't buy this at all. After the first interview, Lloyd tells his wife, is like, there's more to this guy. I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
And they have about 3 or 4 interviews, the two of them. Mm-hmm. And in every interview, who asks more questions?
Mr. Rogers.
It's so fascinating how Rogers can just deflect and flip these questions around. And not in like I'm like trying to like, I don't want to answer your question because I don't want to look bad. It's because Rogers generally cares about him. It's like, why you ask that negative question? It's like, you're setting me up to answer to be bad. Yeah. And that's not how I am. Like, is that how you feel?
Yeah, big questions. Typical reporter things. Reporters do it all the time. Scum of the earth.
Well, now, it's funny that you said that because Lloyd is based...
Sorry if you're a reporter and listen to this.
Well, it's funny that you say that because Lloyd is based off a real-life reporter or a real-life journalist, and that's kind of the memoir that he writes at the end of the movie is the basis for the movie. Can Lloyd's cynicism, though, reflect all of society? This idea that everyone wants to believe that everyone has this huge darkness and is evil at heart.
Ooh, that's some meta question right here. It reminds me of ancient proverb from Native Americans where it goes, inside you there is 2 wolves. One is evil and one is good, and they're constantly fighting each other. to come out. So I feel like
And then the child asked that chief which one will win,
yeah,
and what does he answer?
the one that you feed.
The one that you feed. Do you feed your hate or do you feed your love?
Yeah, and Mr. Rogers chose to feed love, and
Which
we all need to start feeding love, if you ask me. Right?
I agree with you.
So I think you're right. It is a reflection of society, of how they view the world, which is sad.
I think our society right now is very divided.
More divided than we've ever been.
It's true though, and it's divided on everything. Divided on race, divided on sex, divided on
Age.
everything. Age. It's like everyone
Now,
hates everybody.
Like, age is the biggest new one now. Like, there's a huge separation between ages now, like age groups, which is you never really seen until like now. It's, I guess, because it's on the internet.
It's true, and
Religion,
absolutely.
political beliefs.
We have all. Oh, that's a big one right now, right? We have all of these things to divide us. Let's find this issue and let's break everyone into one camp into another camp.
You can't see both sides of the story. It's either you're with me or you're against me.
But this is what I find fascinating, because we've always had differences of opinions, but now it's like everyone has to be right. But maybe we should take a step back and listen to everyone speak. And I think that's the one thing that Fred Rogers does. He listens.
Yeah.
And he listens to what you have to say. And even, he wants to kind of find that middle ground. Like, yeah, sure, you hate your father. But yes, through just asking simple questions, he kind of helps repair this relationship.
Yeah. And that's great. And he just by asking questions.
And I think that's the thing that we as a society need to do more. We need to listen to each other and stop the hate, stop dividing. In fact, I think a lot of our movies now are very divisive even, right?
Yeah.
They want to put people in camps. We've talked a little bit about Charlie's Angels or Hustlers and how they're very divisive movies and how they kind of portray.
And then it's just one big, oh, this movie hates men. Fuck this movie. Oh, this movie hates women. Oh, sorry.
And you got
We're
us
gonna
canceled.
beat that. We're canceled.
Wow.
Oh wow, embarrassing.
There are children listening.
Sorry, kids.
You just got a lot of hate. Our whole message of people not hating. You just got people like these people swear in front of children.
I get very
I hit a
riled up
nerve.
about how divided people are. Right? It gets me riled up. It's stupid.
It's true.
Like no one wants to hear it. No one puts themselves in the other person's shoes or anything like that. Everyone's like, listen, I've seen, like, I've been on Reddit and I follow this subreddit called Insane Facebook Posts, and like there's guys that are like saying the enemy of America are liberals, right? And I'm like, what? Like, where do you get to this? Like, where do you get? Or like, the enemy of America is conservatism. Like, it's just no one's the enemy of nobody.
The irony is everyone's conservative and everyone is liberal. We have the idea of liberal is to like change, like to want to change things, and everyone likes some kind of change.
Yeah.
There's some change that you'll like, and conservative means to protect the past, and there will be something that every human being would like to protect the past.
Yeah.
Right? A family tradition, for example. Maybe they want to keep something like that.
Conservatism,
It's just maintaining that. We all have elements of everything. This is the thing, right? All humans we break down to be the same kind of personality. We're all different, but we're all the same at the end of the day. And it's about listening. Like, if we listen to each other, we might find we have more commonalities than differences.
Listen and compromise.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing, again, to reiterate this, that Fred Rogers and this movie does. It's all about that kind of, taking this cynicism, this division, and trying to bring people together. And we see this with Lloyd and his dad, Jerry, right? Like, that's the main aspect of this story, this fractured relationship. And even Lloyd and his wife, Andrea, right? Like,
they had been some issues as
they
well.
have it not nearly to like we're gonna get divorced, but there are issues there. There are issues with the son, right, Gavin. Like, there are issues with the sister, right? They're not necessarily at the forefront,
but it's in the background of his head. It's in his mind.
And by no means did they paint Rogers to be perfect. He keep saying, like, I have demons too. Like, I have things. The line I really liked in their third interview when they're talking in his house in New York is that, like, Lloyd asked him this question. How do your sons deal with your kind of persona? And he says, like, my one son just told his friends about me like a couple years ago, right? And my other son likes to test my nerves, right? We had this idea that Fred Rogers had to work at being like this, and that's the thing that people in, I think, society forget. Like, to foster healthy relationships takes work, communication. Those are vital things, and
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of this movie. I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What did you think of the subway scene where all the people start singing It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
That was so freaking cheesy.
I know, and I
So
loved every
cheesy.
second of it.
But it was necessary.
It was
And it was
so
great.
good.
That's good cheesy, okay?
I love cheese. Yeah, you know
That's
I do.
good cheesy. Because you know what? It put a smile on my face seeing that scene. So it was good cheesy.
I really like that scene.
Not crappy cheesy.
So the father is a big role in this film, even though he's not in it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But his presence is known.
His presence is known, right? He went to the wedding. He spent some nights outside the house.
Yeah.
He wants to talk to his son, right? We find out that he's dying.
Mm-hmm. He wants to
And
make things right.
you know, Lloyd has shut him out for a while, right? Even in the hospital, he takes off to go talk to Rogers. He's like, nah, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk to you. But after having a really, I think the fourth or fifth conversation with Fred Rogers, I think like a light bulb goes off in Lloyd's head to realize that when you hate someone, you're just really hating yourself. And if you let that hate rule you, it's going to wreck all of your other relationships, because hate is a very powerful thing. You can't be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to love everyone and hate one person, because to foster, like, have you ever tried to be angry at someone?
Yeah, that's easy.
You know which
I'm angry at you every day.
Really? You find it easy? I think it's the hardest thing in the
I'm
world to be
joking.
angry at someone.
I'm
Like, honestly, like, I really think it's like the hardest thing to be angry at someone, because you have to be on. Like, imagine you're having a good time and then you run into the person you're trying to be angry at. You have to be like, I gotta figure out a way to be angry. I gotta figure out a way to be angry. It's so hard to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. Like if they do an action that pisses you off, like I feel like it's very
Maybe in
easy
the
to-
moment, but it's like to
after
hold
that,
on to it, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like, it's easy to be angry for a second but to hold on to the anger.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, that's too much of an effort.
But
You know me, I don't care about anything.
after that conversation, Lloyd goes back and he talks to his wife and he apologizes. He's like, listen, and he tells them like some of the things he's been dealing with. He opens up the line of communication.
Yeah.
And you know what? Things got better with his wife.
You gotta talk. You gotta communicate, y'all.
So the movie then has Lloyd
Communication
goes
is
to
key.
see his father and to stay with his father and I think pretty much until he dies.
Yeah.
And like they work on their relationship, and he has a conversation with his son where he changes, like, you know what, I'm nervous about this, but we're gonna work on this together. Like, we will do that.
Yeah.
You know, even Rogers ends up visiting the family, bringing a
Yeah.
pie.
And he sits down, they all eat together, and it was nice. It was touching.
It was. It's a very good ending to Lloyd's story.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with the dad dying, and we go back to the beginning, where Rogers is sitting on the couch and he opens up like the last picture, and it's Lloyd and his family, I guess, the Christmas after. So it's like the
Yeah.
sister and the sister's husband, the wife, and like the
The-
father's or the father's
Current
widow.
wife, yeah,
Yeah.
or widow, whatever you want to call that.
And then Rogers really sums up the whole message, the whole theme of the movie, of
Yeah.
communication, of forgiveness, of
Yeah.
you know,
When we hold
letting
on
go of
to
your hate.
you don't prosper as a person.
So what
It's
did
a
you?
beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day. What are you gonna ask me? What I think of the ending?
No, what did you think of the father character, Chris? I think Chris Cooper did a great job personally.
Yeah, no, he's good. It was very good. You know, he looked like a deadbeat a little bit, and then he also looked like trying to make amends as well.
I mean, I thought that he was never very malice, right? Like
Yeah.
it's through the eyes of Lloyd that we see him being this quote unquote alcoholic at the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Where he's giving this speech to his daughter, and Lloyd's like, oh, he's drunk, but like he's not, probably, because he's
Yeah.
on all this medicine, right?
Yeah.
and like the fight that starts, like we're looking at it through Lloyd's eyes, where he's a bad human being. But I think it's clear that he's been trying to seek forgiveness from his children for a while, because he's been married to this woman for years, right?
Yeah. She got
That no one
his
even
act
know,
together.
like the kids don't even know about her.
Yeah.
Were you satisfied with the ending? Of Lloyd's story? Of Lloyd's
Yeah.
story?
Yes, I was.
I was as well.
It was great.
Yeah, the cynic becomes the believer. It's a fantastic
Yeah.
story. Did you like the ending of the movie though?
Or he's playing on the piano.
Yes.
No.
I wasn't a big fan of it either. I think the movie should have just ended, but what they did was they had the lights go off, and then they had Rogers walk over to the piano in the dark and play like this piece, and he kind of gets upset. He kind of hits the piano. I just don't see the necessity of that.
Yeah. Maybe to show that he was a human one more
Yeah,
time.
I guess, but I don't think he needed that in the movie. That wasn't It wasn't his story. It was
Yeah, we
Lloyd's
got the
story.
point.
Like the whole aspect of starting it the way they did and ending it should have been to keep it like it was actually an episode of his show. That was just longer than the normal half an hour that he would have gotten.
Yeah.
Were you okay with Rogers? We talked about this. You're okay with Rogers not being the main character, right? Was this film too positive?
You can't have enough positivity in the world, so it's not too positive for me. I mean, if they made a dark Mr. Rogers film. You know, he's in instead of those people in the subway, they're singing in the subway, and then some guy steals someone's purse and then shoots somebody in front of him. Like, do we need that? No, thank you. I was happy with the positivity.
No, in fact, we need more movies like this. The theme about this movie is be empathetic and have good morals. Why is that a bad thing? Why should we be gearing away from this?
Yeah.
Instead of making movies where we divide people, why can't we make movies where we feel more empathy towards people?
And unite.
You know what?
One.
You know what the biggest thing that can get people to change? Guilt. Guilt is such your mom can yell at you or she can guilt you. What's more powerful to you?
Probably guilt.
Oh my god. If my mom yells at me, I can tune her out. If she guilts me, I feel horrible for a month.
Yeah. You know, like, what do I do? Yeah, sometimes, like, I remember when I was just a little bit of a side story, but I remember when I was a kid, and, like, sometimes my mom would make lunch, and I wouldn't like it. I would never throw that out because I just felt so bad, like, just guilty.
Oh my god, my mom in high school made my lunch all the time. I remember like there was one time like I wasn't hungry, I threw a sandwich out. I felt guilty about it for like a month.
Yeah, you're like, my mom's working so hard on that.
She didn't have to make that lunch for me, and she made it, and I threw it out once. It's like and then she comes home and like, how is your day? Or I'm like, all right, sir, how was your lunch? And I was like, it was good. I lied to my mom. I feel horrible.
I'm a piece of crap, kid.
Once.
I ruined my mom.
I think after that, every time like I wasn't hungry, I ate as much as I could. I'm like, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I really like? You know what I really like about the Rogers show or A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, like the TV show or in the movie and everything. Rogers taught more than children's stories, right? Like he had real life issues, real life lessons. He talked about life. He talked about morality. He talked about death.
Yeah.
He talked about issues that we should be talking to kids about. And I think that's where his longevity comes from. He didn't just talk about the happy things. He talked about everything about being a human being.
Yeah.
And it's
what it is to be a human.
Yeah. It's true.
It's great. One of the great philosophers of this world.
It's true.
Fred G. Rogers. His middle name's not really G. I don't know what it is. It just sounded cool.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this film?
No. This is a great movie. 9.5 out of 10.
I'm going a little bit lower. I'm going to go an 8.5 out of 10. I really like this film.
A little bit lower. It's 1 whole point.
1 whole point. It's still an A. I probably could go higher, but I think it doesn't have a lot of rewatchability for me.
I think the rewatchability is good because it has a good message and lesson in it.
I think this is a movie, though. This is where I think you're right. I think right now I'm like, I've seen it. I'm happy with it. But if you ask me maybe in a year or two, where I've had time to really let it fester, and I'm like, I really want to watch this movie again, I think then it would rise to me. Yeah. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 now.
Give it an 8.5 now, but remember when it all seems like
Doom and
the
gloom.
world's too doom and gloom. Watch that movie.
So
I
I think
guarantee.
ask me again if you remember. Ask me again in a year. Ask me at the end of
Okay.
next year, at the end of
Alright.
2020, and be like, "Do you still think it's an 8.5?" And I'll be like, "Maybe not."
Okay, fair enough.
Because we always, I mean, our ratings after the
You're allowed
first
to
watch
change.
at the movie after your first watch of a movie, like it could be,
It could go higher. It could
it
go
could go
lower.
low after the second time, right? All right, so that's it for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Are you ready to move on to the next movie?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's talk about The Irishman. Now, for me, it's been a while. Like, it's been a month. I saw this movie in theaters at the beginning of November.
Yeah, but you could always rewatch it though, so don't even give me that.
No, I can't. I'm just saying I've been. No, what I'm saying is I've been waiting to talk about this
Yeah.
movie for a very long time.
I know.
You chinced out and didn't want to go see it in the movies. You were like, I'm gonna wait for Netflix. That's when we
Yeah.
should talk about it.
Well, I said because most people are gonna watch the Netflix. No one's gonna go out of their way to watch it.
I did.
Yeah, but you love movies.
I do love movies. I love it. All right, Todd, what are your opening thoughts on The Irishman?
I'm conflicted a little bit. It's I think it's a good movie. All in all, it's a pretty good movie. It's a long one. It's kind of takes a little bit while to. It's not your typical Scorsese film where like it's just on the gas pedal from start to finish. These has these like speeds about his movies, right? Where they're long, but the pacing doesn't seem as long. This one's gonna be a little bit. It's a big ask because it's a little bit slow in the beginning, and I'm not gonna lie, the de-aging technology is the worst crap I've probably seen in any movie. Right? It doesn't. The thing like de-aging is great and all, but the thing with de-aging is, yeah, they look younger, but like they still move like an old man. They still like De Niro didn't look like that when he was younger. He still had the big like square faced De Niro. De Niro had a more narrow face back in the day when he was younger, right? If you think of Goodfellas, think of even Casino and everything like that. De Niro's wider than he was back then, right? So yeah, but still, you know what? Decent film. I like it. Good acting, good cast. Well, there's only the big three that you see mainly in most of the cast. No one else really, except for that one dude. Some people have a little bit of bigger roles than others, but yeah, that's my opening thoughts.
I'm shocked. Knowing the gangster mobster movie is like one of your favorite genres. That you've got Goodfellas and Godfather in your top 10 list. I'm shocked you didn't like it. I really like this
I
film.
didn't like it. I said it was decisively conflicted.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you're conflicted and you didn't love it because I really liked this film. I really did, and I think this might be the last of the gangster / mobster films, the ones based on true stories, things like that.
No, we
And
need John
boy,
Gotti.
what a way to go out! Pacino, De Niro, Pesci, Keitel, Romano. And let me tell you, they do not disappoint. Now, just a side note, hustlers, take some notes. Good movies like this, understand the message is crime doesn't pay. They are villains, period.
They're not good people.
They are not. Now, what I liked about this film is it starts and ends with the acting. De Niro was brilliant. He was in the entire movie. How he was not nominated for a Golden Globe boggles my mind. This man was in the entire film. He carried the plot. He carried everything about this film. Pesci was great. Pacino was great. All three should be nominated if you ask me. And De Niro should be the guy who wins out of all of them. The characters I found interesting. I didn't know anything about Frank Sheeran. I didn't. He was a
union man.
He was interesting. He had an interesting life. He was a war vet, a mobster, a teamster. He spent time in prison. I really liked the character of Russell, and I thought Pesci was phenomenal as it. The story, the way they portrayed the death of Hoffa, all interesting. And unlike Xavier, I kind of like the de-aging. I mean,
Wow.
He can talk about whatever he wants about De Niro's face was a little bit less square when he was younger. But, I mean, he looked younger. It was the aspect that that's what he looked. If you did not know Robert De Niro was what he looked like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, but the problem is we do know
Well, you
what he
do.
looks like 30 years.
I don't
Everybody
remember.
knows.
Okay.
He's a
Anyways,
pretty big actor.
what I didn't like about this film though was the third act. I don't dislike long movies. I love Gone with the Wind. That's this length as well. I like Endgame. That's 3 hours. I like long movies. This movie, however, felt long. I would have taken an axe to that third act, and I would have added it. I would have taken the third act and put it throughout the rest of the movie. So I would have kept it 3.5 hours. I would have changed the pacing of the film to make it work better so that the climax stays towards the ending. Because the movie is about the death of Hoffa, and we get there, and then there's another half an hour of the movie to go, and it's like it's too much of that. I felt, at least. That's a nitpick, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like it. All right. Before we deep dive, I have a question for you. This movie, Martin Scorsese, what he tried to do is he tried to tell the movie in 3 different times. Like the first time is the present, the end of the life of Frank Sheeran.
Yeah.
The second would be the Hoffa wedding death, and the third would be everything leading up to Hoffa's death.
Yeah.
Did you like the decision to tell it in 3 different time periods?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And the thing is, like I said, de-aging looked crap on some of them. That's the only thing. I feel like it probably would have been better if they got maybe different actors to like play younger versions of themselves.
Okay, listen. You're talking about some of the greatest actors of our generation. There's no one out there that could be a younger De Niro better than De Niro could be De Niro.
I don't know. You remember the scene where he beats up the guy with the thing? That was the worst scene ever. It looked like you could tell it was an old guy the way he was kicking him. Like, I'm just saying, like the scenes where he has to like move and stuff like that. You can tell it's an old guy. When he's acting sitting still, yeah, it looks good because he looks younger. But when he has to do like moves and the way he just moved and walked, you could just still tell it was an old guy. So
I don't agree with you. I didn't see that. I didn't even notice that, to be honest.
Yeah, because all you look at is the plot. Nothing else in the film.
The plot's the most important thing. Do you think that Christopher Nolan had an impact on making this film? Because telling a story, I'm asking, like, if you're Scorsese, like taking 3 times, like that's a very Christopher Nolan thing to have 3 things going on at the same time.
Maybe he was inspired.
That's what I'm asking.
Nolan.
Do you think that Nolan was an inspiration? Maybe that's a better question.
I don't know. Do you feel that way?
I feel he did. I feel like I think for sure that maybe not him, but the script writers, or I don't know how the script was written or if it was the decision made after by the director, but whoever's decision it was, I think Nolan, watching like a movie like The Prestige to see how Nolan tells his stories, I think it would have had an impact. Because in standard issue kind of Casino, Goodfellas, Scorsese movies, he tells the story from the present and then just starts at the beginning and works his way there.
Yeah.
Or like even in like a Coppola movie where it takes place like in like this is the 1920 scenes, this is the 1950 scenes, right? Like we don't really get that. So I don't know, but I think there's a possibility at least.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So the movie kind of begins with Frank Sheeran. And it starts with him as like an old man, and he's telling the story of him and his best friend, Russell. And they're driving to a wedding with their wives, and then we have this flashback sequence on how they become kind of friends. Sheeran is a World War II vet. He's delivering meat in a truck. He sells some meat on the side, and he gets caught. And then he meets his union lawyer, Bill Bufalino, and the lawyer gets him off. So that's when
he doesn't rat anybody out.
Because that's a big aspect, which gets Bufalino to introduce him to his cousin Russell. And that's how he gets involved in the mob. He starts doing things for Russell, including murdering him. What are your thoughts on
houses?
Pardon? Well, that's what the book was called.
Thoughts.
That's what the book's called.
Yeah.
The memoirs that the movie's based off.
Oh, okay.
I Paint Houses, or We Paint Houses, or whatever it's called.
My thoughts on
Sheeran. What are your thoughts on Sheeran?
Is he's very good at painting houses. If I needed my house painted, I definitely would hire him. Uh, you can only do one shade though of paint. It's blood red, but he's good at that. But yeah, no, he's honestly, I think Sheeran, he's just a bad guy. He's not a good person at all. That's about it.
Took the words out of my mouth. Liked him a lot, but it is clear as day that he is a bad person. Yeah. He steals from where he works, and then he joins the mob and kills people. He's a bad human being.
Yeah.
Cheats on his wife, ends up marrying a younger woman. Like, he is not a good human being. What are your thoughts on, like, the legal system that lets him get away with what he did?
The legal system was pretty bad back in the day.
It's still bad. It's the same kind of aspect.
But, like, they're still trying to, make differences and everything like that. But, yeah, it's not surprising he got a slap on the wrist back then. So,
we also meet Russell. And he is the head of, like, this family, the northeastern Pennsylvania crime family. And he has his ear to everything. His nose is in every aspect of it. Mm-hmm. He's very well respected, but he's very calm in his demeanor, which is very not like a Pesci kind of character.
Yeah.
Pesci's normally I'm swearing every chance I get.
I think it's because he's older.
Maybe. I just think that we always get this idea of Joe Pesci he's like this one kind of loudmouth character.
Yeah.
I think this is his opportunity. He's a little bit older, like you said, but this shows his range of acting too. Yeah. I think in a lot of ways Pesci is the star of this film.
Yeah, I think he is the star of the film.
Yeah? Why?
Because just from the points that you said before, he's just I've never seen Pesci do this before. This is a very different take that we've seen now. We're not used to this, and I really liked his character, just the way he went about his decisions and everything like that. It was great.
See, I agree, because Pacino played Pacino, or play that kind of Pacino role.
Yeah.
De Niro does that. De Niro is
man.
De Niro might be the best actor post 1980. Like, his range is phenomenal. So what we get with Robert De Niro. If he's in something, he's got humor, he's got drama skills.
Yeah.
I mean, he's phenomenal. But Joe Pesci showed his range, and I thought he was fantastic.
I'm a union man.
So after, 40 minutes into this film and the introduction of Frank into the mob, we meet the Teamsters. And we know who the Teamsters are through Russell's cousin, Bill Bufalino, who is one of the Teamster lawyers. Now, do you know what a Teamster is?
No.
Or
I was just about to ask you what the hell is a Teamster?
It's the driving union.
Oh.
All the drivers in America form the union of drivers, and that union they refer to as the Teamsters. Now, had you heard of Jimmy Hoffa prior to this movie, and what happened to him?
I heard of Jimmy Hoffa because of a bunch of rap songs, and now it made sense because we turned men. A lot of the lines would be like, "We turned men into Jimmy Hoffa." I'm like, what does that mean? And I just thought, I'm like, oh, I guess he got killed, but I didn't know because as soon as I heard that name, I was like, let me look this up. I know something happened. Like, what was he? And I found out that he went missing and no one could ever find him.
Yeah, that is the story of Jimmy Hoffa. Mm-hmm. Now, I did know the story, but do you think most people under 30 would not know who he is?
I'd argue most people under 40 would not know who he is.
Our producer Dave, No, he's not. Our producer's nodding that he has not heard of Hoffa either. Does that mean that this movie is more important for that reason because it tells the story of Hoffa?
I think it's more. I think it's to drive the point home that he did all this mob stuff, lost the. Well, we'll get. I'll go more into in a little bit detail, but I'll bring it back to Jimmy Hoffa.
So, do you think it's important then?
Yeah, it is important.
I think so too. I mean, Hoffa is a very important member, like American in history in this period, specifically in the 70s and 60s when he was very active, or 50s and 60s. Sorry, I'm not 70s.
Wasn't 75 when he went missing?
Yeah, but he was already he was in jail, right? Yeah. Like before he goes to jail, he was a very important figure. So Jimmy Hoffa, he basically needs a favor, like a shady favor. He has connections inside the mob, again through Bill Bufalino, and so Russell decides to send Sheeran, and Sheeran takes care of the problem. He dumps all of the other taxis for other drivers
Yeah.
into the river, and develops this close relationship with Jimmy Hoffa. They families bond, specifically his daughter Peggy, who doesn't really like most of the other people her dad hangs
Doesn't
out
like
with.
Russell at all.
And Sheeran eventually becomes pretty much Hoffa's kind of bodyguard, and eventually becoming a head of a Teamster area.
Yeah, his own union.
So, what are your thoughts on Hoffa and how he ran his business? Because we didn't really talk about it, but the movie goes into like almost probably 30 minutes.
Yeah, I said argue probably longer than that, but honestly, this made me realize that the mob played was a big role in American history. They had their hands in almost everything: politics, entertainment, gambling, just everything. Like Las Vegas is pretty much Las Vegas because of the mob, pretty much, right? So
But Hoffa's not involved.
I'm not. He's not involved with it, but like they also had things that I didn't even think they'd be interested in, like unions and stuff like that, right? So he's not a mobster, but he has lots of ties to the mob, right?
Well, union culture was very, very big in this period, right?
Yeah.
And from the early teens, right? Well, it's still big today, but like really big from like the early teens right into the 70s, when like that kind of left culture was kind of growing.
Yeah.
So Hoffa was at the forefront of it, right? He was a union guy. That's like how
I'm a union man.
That's how he is. And I thought Pacino did a great job. I like the humor he brought in.
I look up for the little guy.
I love this scene where one of his like higher ups do something that's gonna get him into jail, and he's like yelling at them all, and like Sheeran, who's in the background, walks out, and Hoffa goes and be like, "I wasn't yelling at you. I was yelling at the losers."
He's like, "Yeah, I was yelling at those other guys. You know what I mean?"
He's like, "I don't know what you mean. You're yelling at me. I was in the room."
That was a funny scene.
That was a really good. I thought there was good chemistry, and Pacino he played. I think if anything, that's like the more Pesci character.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Is there a scene that's like other than the scene I just said? Because that would be the scene that probably stood out with me most with Hoffa.
Another scene is the scene in the jail. He's eating the thing, and
Eating the ice,
like asking for the money back. And
Tony Pro.
Yeah, Tony Pro. And then another scene is when when they're having that meeting, the guy comes late, and they have the whole discussion on why he's late. Those three scenes really stand out to me.
Yeah, those are a little bit later scenes after when he's in jail, and it's just like they're good. They're good. There's some good scenes with Hoffa. So when you're watching the movie, you'll get a lot out of Pacino in this film. The question I have for you with Hoffa is he portrayed as a good character, a good guy, or a bad character / bad guy?
I think he's just portrayed as just a guy trying to do what's best for the union, try to help out for people. Yeah, you have to. I feel like he'd help out like the little guy, like his union, by any means necessary and stuff like that. That's what I feel.
I'm truly not sure. Like, I would love to give you an answer, but I have no clue.
Okay, I don't blame you.
Because like
my answer wasn't really. He didn't even answer if he was good or bad either. So
does he do bad things? Yes, but at the end of the day, it's for his union, and like I always think of it like from a country perspective, right? Like countries do bad things, but like if it's in the best interest of its people, like isn't that the kind of point?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm very torn on how he was portrayed. Like I don't think he's a good human being.
Yeah.
But is he a? I don't think he's good. I don't think he's bad. I think he's kind of.
I don't think any. You know what? I think it's probably safe to say that nobody in the movie is a good person and is good in general.
No, you're not. You're not wrong. Let's just say that you're not wrong.
Well, none of the guy. I feel like Peggy's not a bad person, like the dog.
Yeah, we're talking about main characters. Right? I know you're talking about. You're talking about main characters. Well, that leads us to the Kennedys. So the movie argues that the mob got Kennedy elected. They come into office. They have the Bay of Pigs scene. You have no idea what the Bay of Pigs is, do you?
No.
So in the late 1950s, like you would remember this from The Godfather Part 2, Cuba was a protectorate of the United States.
Yeah.
And a lot of Americans would go to Cuba to vacation. It was a popular destination. A lot of casinos down there. Well, Fidel Castro took over the country.
Yeah,
and kicked out the Americans, and the Americans have not had a good relationship since.
Yeah.
Well, the Bay of Pigs, when Kennedy got elected, he got the CIA to plan this invasion of Cuba. It's called the Bay of Pigs. It was an absolute disaster. So this film
Oh,
shows the
that
Bay of
was
Pigs.
that.
That's
Okay.
why De Niro's character Sheeran is driving those weapons from Pennsylvania all the way to Florida to Miami, because those are the weapons that will be used in this invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of show you the scene of this invasion, how it fails.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I thought the inclusion of the Bay of Pigs was completely unnecessary to this film.
Yeah. Now that I think about it.
Like, I don't think it was, like, I guess they just wanted to show it for, because Sheeran was actually a part of that, or he alleges to be a part of that. So maybe that's why
I think he just wants to show all that. You know how Scorsese, like, he wants to show all aspects of everything, every life, even if it's not super important, like, for the story.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, look at this, he did this extra thing.
And that's the thing. I found it enjoyable. I didn't feel like, oh my god, this needed to be cut, but
No.
I didn't think it was necessary. Like, I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Especially as a history person, right? I'm like, oh my god, it's the Bay of Pigs. You're like, what the hell's going on? But I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I do. So after he gets elected, though, Kennedy turns on the mob. He gets his brother, RFK, Robert Kennedy, to go after the Teamsters and any corruption going on. And Hoffa, he absolutely despises the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Now, are you surprised by this?
I think he probably despises the Kennedys for reasons that I don't really know. I'm surprised. I don't know, but why would you be?
I'm shocked. And the reason I'm shocked is the Democrats, which is Kennedy's party, they tend to be more pro-union, right? The more left you are on the spectrum, like the NDP in Canada, they tend to be more pro-union. So you would imagine that would be the case. But I guess because unions in that period, or Hoffa's union specifically, were connected with the mob, maybe that's where the hatred comes from.
Yeah.
I find it very
Maybe you just didn't trust the Kennedy, cause like, you know how like there's Republicans that don't want certain Republicans elected, or Democrats that don't want certain Democrats elected to represent. Maybe that might.
Maybe
be the
that's where it
reason.
comes from. You might be right.
Yeah.
But he's a big Nixon guy, so. But again, Nixon's got some corruption. Maybe he just likes the. Maybe that just shows that he's very pro corruption.
Yeah.
And he likes his politics to be corrupt as well.
Maybe.
Either way, they come hard after Hoffa and they have him. But Kennedy gets assassinated, and Hoffa looks like he's going to be off, except for there was some jury tampering going on, so he goes to jail. The mob eventually takes over the Union, and they take over Fitzsimmons, I believe. Fitzsimmons.
His second in command.
Yep. And the mob puts that guy in charge, and he starts overspending. Does this make Hoffa a good person then? Because the guy who replaces him is even worse.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to make it that way.
Like, again, I'm not sure the entire. And I guess this is one of the very positives of this movie, is you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, because you can make the argument both ways.
Yeah, it's pretty much just here are the facts. Well, not facts, like facts in quotation marks. You make the decision yourself.
Now, the movie really glossed over Fitzsimmons' time as the leader of the Teamster Union.
Yeah.
Do you think that Scorsese should have spent more time with this?
No, because it's more the Frank Hoffa story. I mean, the Jim Hoffa story and Frank Sheeran's story. Yeah. So we don't need to know more about.
Yeah, that's my thought. Like, this isn't Fitzsimmons' movie.
Yeah.
It's as you said, Frank Hoffa. I mean, I'm just kidding. It's Frank Sheeran and Jimmy Hoffa's story. That's who it is. So when Nixon comes into power, after a while, he pardons Jimmy Hoffa. So he gets released in 1971, and he wants to retake control of his union. But the mob doesn't really want him to, because Fitzsimmons is in his pocket, whereas Hoffa is more like, I'm in charge kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's also a feud going on with Tony Pro. And this starts from in prison, when Tony Pro confronts Hoffa, who's eating ice cream, and Hoffa might have said "you people," in referring to Italians. And did he throw "wop" out there? It's in the dinner later that he throws that word out there. But he's making fun of Italians. Basically, he also shows that he's disrespectful to like crime and all of
Yeah.
that too. So
Doesn't he start like saying Fitzsimmons runs with the mob and everything like
yes,
that? He starts exposing the mob.
that's what he wants to do, and the mob doesn't like this. And they actually have this scene where they're trying to put this kind of rivalry to bed in Miami, where they meet, and this is the scene you're talking about that stood out, right? They're at this restaurant. Hoffa's waiting with Sheeran, but Tony Pro's late, and they've made it very clear in this movie that they make it very clear in this movie that Hoffa is like the consummate professional. Like you come into a meeting in a suit, and early is on time is late.
Yeah.
And he's like 15 minutes late. And there's this huge scene where they get into this huge fight, and it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
This all comes to a head. This threatening to expose the mob, this Tony Pro scene, all of these are coming to a head for the celebration of Frank Sheeran as like a Philadelphia Man of the Year kind of thing. And at that meeting, Russell tries talking with them, but emotional Jimmy Hoffa will have nothing of it. So the decision is made to put a hit out on Jimmy Hoffa. Where do you think the fault lies in all this? Is it on Hoffa's emotions? Is it on Tony Pro? Is it on Sheeran for not just smacking Hoffa to keep him in line?
Honestly, on the end, it's more pretty much... It all started when he went to jail. As soon as you make a deal with the mob, it's not going to end pretty. So I'd say it's on Hoffa. No matter what, this is probably going to be the end result. You either end up in dead or in prison. Or sometimes both.
Hoffa admits it. He's emotional, and he can't control his emotions. It is his fault, and he knows who he's in bed with. Yeah. I think we know the answer to this question. Did anyone overreact? Did the mob overreact? We all know that Pacino Hoffa overreacted. Did the mob overreact in this?
I mean, the mob is the mob. They're always going to overreact because they rather be safe than sorry. So dead person's better than
very good.
Somebody that can betray you.
So this catches us up to the mid-story arc, the wedding story arc, the drive from Pennsylvania to Detroit. And Sheeran thinks the wedding is going to be this last chance to get Hoffa on board. He does not realize the decision has already been made and it's 100% final. And Russell pulls him aside in the morning and says, "You're going to be the one to kill him. You're going to get on this plane. You're going to fly to Detroit. You're going to off the guy, and then you're going to fly back, and then we'll go to the wedding." So that's the plan, right? Fly in, pick up Hoffa, take him to a house, shoots him in the face twice.
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
Painted the house.
Pardon?
Painted his house.
Yeah, red. Were you surprised that Sheeran was ordered to do this hit knowing his relationship with Hoffa?
Yeah. Actually, no. What am I saying? I meant as in I expected this to happen. Reason being is he's the closest one, and he's the only one that Jimmy would really trust. So if they want to get the hit on him, that's the best person to do.
And Sheeran can't even say no, right?
Yeah.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah. That's why you don't play.
So
play around with the mob, baby.
So the fallout of this I find is very interesting. So the next day, or like a week later, or 3 days later, whatever it is, they're watching TV at Sheeran's house with his daughters and his wife, and they're like, Hoffa's gone missing, and the daughter somehow knows that Sheeran kills his father kills Hoffa. What did you think of the daughter in general, Debbie?
Isn't it
Peggy? Sorry, not Debbie. Peggy. Peggy.
Yeah, it was an interesting aspect, but I know what her device is for this movie. She's pretty much there to see that this whole film is pretty much crime doesn't pay. That's pretty much the whole message of the film. But we'll get into that near the end once we finish the whole plot, and then I'll rail it home. Home run it for you.
Anna Paquin is a big name actress, right? She's Academy Award nominee she's like the youngest nominee ever. She's got TV credits. Like she's not a C-list celebrity. Mm-hmm. And she has one line of dialogue in this film. It's like, "Why haven't you called Joe?" And I don't love the daughter's character. I would have liked it if they made her a bigger part. In fact, that's something I would have done in this film, is kind of show this relationship. This scene was not necessary for me.
Uh, it's necessary, but I can't tell you why yet.
Okay, I will skip it then. Do you know how she? Why do you think she knew?
She's always knew from a young age because she didn't like Russell and everything. I guess they're hinting
No,
at that.
why would she think that? Like, she knows that her father and Jimmy Hoffa are good friends.
Yeah.
Why would she think that her father would kill one of his good friends?
Because she knows he's part of the mob.
I guess.
If he doesn't do it.
And she's probably been following the news that the mob's
Yeah.
not. Okay. I mean, I agree with that. So Martin Scorsese has been getting some criticism for giving Anna Paquin only this one line in this male-dominated movie.
Yeah, but don't the wives have more lines than her?
They do, but again, they're not really. They don't really do anything, right?
Yeah,
They
they're
smoke
not side
cigarettes.
characters, yeah.
So, are they right? Is this criticism fair?
I don't know. It's more about their story, right? There's so much that he had to pull, and I guess the movie is 3 hours long, and she only got one line of dialogue, so it doesn't look like the greatest picture. But I can see where people are coming from. But like we said before, it's the Jimmy Hoffa story and the Frank Sheeran story. So
I agree. I think that Anna Paquin knew she signed up for this role, right? She auditioned to be this character.
that's the best paycheck I ever get. One line of
But
dialogue.
not even that. But like to be part of this like critically acclaimed film, like we've talked about this with Star Wars before. Like people just want to wear the helmet and not even be known, just to be say they could be a part of the film, right? To work with
Daniel
Martin
Craig.
Scorsese and Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. Like Joe Pesci was retired
Yeah, and he came out of retirement
to do this film. Like that's something to be a part of, right? So I think I had no issue with it. Anyways, they all end up getting rounded up and all put in jail for different crimes. Now, to me, I felt this was very rushed. Did you find this very rushed?
Yeah, it was kind of very rushed, and then it goes to a bunch of 30 minutes of him just being alone and be like, what the hell's going on here?
Like, I feel like they made it seem like they were all put into jail for Hoffa, but they were all for different
Separate
crimes.
charges, right? He's like, I got put into things for bullshit, and then it shows all the crimes.
Yeah, like it's very awkward. I felt this part of the movie, this like 5 minutes or even not even probably like 3 minutes, was very forced. Either way, they go to jail for 13 years. Every member of his gang or of that mob family dies. His wife dies. His family now ignores him. He dies. Russell dies in prison. He eventually goes into a nursing home. And I think that's where he's going to die, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this post-assassination or / hit part of the film?
So this is where the brilliance of Scorsese comes out. So the whole point of this film is you say it's the Jimmy Hoffa story. I would argue it is the Jimmy Hoffa story, but it's also that crime doesn't pay and none of the things that he did really matters. So one thing we didn't mention in the film is they'll introduce guys and then there'll be a little blurb on the bottom of them getting killed.
Yes.
Things. So they'd be discussing all these things like, let's say, oh, let's kill Jimmy Hoffa, or one of the guys in there's like shot in the head in his home or anything like that. So none of the stuff that any of these people really do matters because either way they're going to get killed anyway. So they're trying to defend themselves. But at the end of the day, the mob kind of turns on you. So the whole thing, so the villain of the movie is pretty much is, I guess, society. I don't know where I'm coming with that. I got to think more about that lane. But on top of that, so everything that Frank's done, right? The mob forced him to kill his best friend, so now he's alone.
Not his best friend, his second best friend. Russell's best friend.
Russell's his best friend. He worked with Russell. Russell's gone. He still holds on to his belief not to rat his boys out, even though everybody's dead. And it doesn't matter. He's like 89 years old. He still won't rat out to the FBI or anything like that. It just goes to show you that he did all these things to kind of like keep a family, have a good time. He beat up this bakery guy, but it made his daughters all scared of him and not open up to him because they're scared what he might do. It just pretty much shows just how alone he is as a person, and that's the whole point that they're trying to drive home. Like all this, you can do all this crime and all this life, but you end up alone at the end. Even if you live through it all, you either end up dead, in jail, or alone, like Mr. Sheeran. And that's the brilliance of the movie.
See, I'm not going to argue with any of that because I think I like that aspect. But I would have put that earlier on before I killed Hoffa. Because I think that you need to get to the point with why it all happened, right?
Yeah.
And the climax of this movie is killing Hoffa led him down that path.
Yeah.
So why not have that story being told already, right? I don't know how exactly I would have cut it. I would really have to take a fine-tooth comb to the script and move things around. But I would have had like all of that happen, and then we find out the reason why. That he's the one who killed Hoffa.
Yeah.
Because he could have been talking.
That'd be pretty good.
Because that's the climax. And then he could be kind of back in his hotel or his nursing home, whatever, by himself, being like, and that's why I'm by myself. That's why everything happened. That's why my daughters won't come talk to me because of that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe Scorsese has a better aspect to it than I do, but, you know, that's what I would have done. I just think that the story is better if you do that. If you make it Hoffa and then kind of end the film, because that's kind of I don't know. It's too much time between the climax and the end.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, does he take a little bit longer to kind of get the point? Like, the point starts to get proven, but I feel like you're right. It did drag a little bit.
But all you gotta do is continue what you're doing. Tell that in a different time aspect, right?
Yeah, kind of move. Not like 30 minutes after Hoffa's death is just.
But be telling that story from the beginning of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. If you kind of do that, be like, what I might have done was, because this is based off a book and what Sheeran says at the end of his life, what I would have done is have reporters asking him questions. So maybe ask him, I've come to see you like 15 times now. Why haven't you say you have daughters? Why don't they see you? And then have those like scenes where like he comes out of jail and like he goes to see Peggy, but she doesn't want to see him, and she goes to talk to the other daughter, and have all that at that point, and then you go have the reporter ask another story. Have the reporter lead the kind of the story a little bit, so that way you can get to the story you want to get to. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like,
no.
I feel like if you did that, it would strengthen the story even further, and I think that that would have been a really big positive.
Okay.
Where does this movie rank in the pantheon of mobster movies?
Mobster movies? Like, are we doing Scorsese
real
films?
Life,
or just...
real life, gang-related, mob-related movies.
Like, I remember we talked about this, obviously. We always talk before the movies about the thing. Talking about this, it made me kind of brought it up a little bit more. So it's more in the middle and not in the bottom half.
I think this is up at the top tier. I'm not gonna say it's number one. I still think like Casino's a better film, but I really like this film, and even the parts I don't like, I don't dislike them because they're part of the movie. I dislike them for how the story is telling. Again, I always go back to that third act, and I'm just like, if they took it and moved it
a little bit,
because I was hyped up. Okay, Hoffa's dead now. I'm like, what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for him to die, but I know he's gonna die alone because I've seen the whole movie.
Yeah, right. You're right on that part. Like, Hoffa's dead. Okay, what's going on now?
We knew that. Fine. You want him to have like the court scene where he goes to jail for them. Sure.
Yeah.
You put that in there.
Probably do it beforehand. Like, why is he in jail and everything like that? Like, he's just in jail and all his friends dying beforehand.
Yeah, you could have all that stuff.
Before the Hoffa death.
Why has no one come to see you, right? All you have to do is have a reporter being with them. Like, the priest comes to see him, and just have a reporter come to talk to him on his deathbed about his life. And again, you can arrange it in so many different ways. So you think Pesci's the standout of this film?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Pesci, but I'm going with De Niro. I think De Niro carried this film. 3.5 hours of Robert De Niro.
Yeah. And crappy CGI.
You know, I do have a question about the CGI. You know, the CGI was a very big part of this movie, right?
Yeah.
Now, Martin Scorsese has kind of commented on the use of like CGI and things in the movie. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Buddy's a hypocrite. That's what I'm still doing. I'm gonna be straight up. You know, you can't knock the Marvel movies, but there's all these sad. But no, what I'm doing is art. I'm like, you're using the same technology. How are you gonna comment on the Marvel films and then have the audacity to use the same technology? Are you? What's going on here, buddy? That's hypocritical, if you ask me. Like,
Maybe it's hypocritical, but at the end of the day, again, I don't agree with Martin Scorsese's comments, and I like the aging technology just like I like the technology to use in Endgame. So I have no issues with it.
okay.
All right, last question before we do ratings.
Oh wow!
Oh, wait,
I have a question for you.
go ahead, ask me a question.
Okay, what scene do you think is gonna be the iconic Scorsese film scene? You know, like the funny what, funny how, or you talking to me? What scene do you think would be that scene? It has a lot of.
That's an interesting question because there's a couple that could be.
Yeah.
I think it might be the prison sequence. No, the meeting sequence of the arguing of being late.
Yeah, I think it might be that one too. That might be the one.
I could see that being the one.
The late argument one, yeah, I think that could be the one too.
Because like there's some insults in there that get thrown in that some of them are not safe for podcasting.
Yeah.
Any other questions you have for me?
No, that's my
All
only
right,
question.
I have one question for you. One last question. I made a comment in my opening thoughts that this is going to be the last of the great gangster films. Do you think that's the case?
I don't think so. There's still stories that we don't have a good Al Capone movie.
Untouchables?
Okay, that's not good. That's not a good movie. I'm sorry.
What?
I don't like it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have time. I'm gonna ignore that comment. Anyways, I'm gonna say it is the last
John
great
Gotti.
one because
With Bananos.
the acting of the future, I just don't see the actors that can do it. Like if you asked me to recast Goodfellas, you tell me who could be a Pesci, who could be a De Niro.
Well, the thing is, Pesci's short, but John Berthel could do Pesci, and then
No.
DiCaprio could be De Niro.
But even DiCaprio is getting older now to do these roles, right? Like these guys are getting older. So, anyways, I'm done with
guys.
I'm done with talking about The Irishman. We spent
Peaky Blinders and Top Gun, Top Boy. I think that's the one. Those two TV shows, you can pull some guys out.
We'll see.
Get what's his face? The guy who played the bad guy, Michael Shannon. He's good.
Also older. You like all these older guys. Anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about The Irishman. I think we did a good job talking about it. What are you giving this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give this the de-agent and just the first half is gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
7.5.
Yeah.
Freak! I don't think we've ever been this different. I'm gonna be at 9.
Oh wow.
I really like this movie. And the only reason I'm not going higher is I'm just not a biggest fan of this genre, right? And the third act. Those are the two. That's probably the 0.5 and the other 0.5 that I would take off on. I'm not a big fan of the genre of the villain kind of characters and that third act that I spent a lot of time talking about.
Okay.
All right. I'm so excited to talk about this next film because this is my childhood. One of my favorite movies of all time. If you watch our first podcast where we talk about our top 10 movies of all time, Back to the Future is my number 5. And I've loved it ever since. And Xavier has never seen it. So I said that what we need to do is watch
Back to the Future.
Exactly. So Xavier,
I guess those are your opening thoughts.
what are your opening thoughts on Back to the Future? Oh, mine. I'll hop. One of the greatest movies ever. Has everything you want from a film. Original for the time. Great plot, great story, lots of humor, cultural relevancy, iconic acting, memorable quotes, and the bloody music. phenomenal. Dun, 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 dun. I
Oh
suck
wow,
at it, but I don't care.
you're actually singing. I never heard this guy sing before. This man loves this film.
Back to the Future. This
Never sings
film
anything. This
I
guy
could
didn't even
watch
sing in the
over
trilogy.
and over and over again. It's aged well. I first watched it probably in 1989, 1990, and it still holds up. It still holds up. And I've watched this. I could say I probably watch this movie at least once a year. I've seen it in theaters. I love this film. That's my opening thoughts. Xavier.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a lover as Pooch is because I seen this at a much later date, so I don't have the nostalgia goggles like he does. But this still is a very good film. It's not for the time that it was made, it was great. Like you said, original plot and everything. The acting's good. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't laugh at any of the jokes, but that's just me. I'm not I'm into dark comedy now, and I'm a South Park and Rick and Morty guy, so it's kind of hard for me to go to Back to the Future. But yeah, this is a great film. Let's get into it. Let's deep dive, shall we?
I'm
That's what you
excited.
say.
Oh yeah, let's do it. So the movie starts in like 1985. We meet Marty. He's late for school. He wants to be a part of like the talent show, which he fails at. He's late for class.
It's too loud.
He's too loud. His music, so good. He's going to quit, and we find out later that he gets it from his dad. Almost word for word, with the line he gives to why he's going to quit. His dad says, which is why he will not like put his like stories out to be told, because like he's worried. So we have this like nature versus nurture kind of conversation. I really like this element to the film. And like that's a big aspect, right? Is your nature to be who you are, or do your circumstances make you? And that's
It's even mentioned by the teacher. He's like, "You're just like your father."
exactly.
Forget what their last name is.
McFly.
McFly.
How do you forget that? McFly. Hello, McFly.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget. I only remember his first name. Yeah, McFly's never amounted anything in this city. Blah blah blah.
So good. Love it. We even get to see some of the old town, or the town, like the old part of the town, which we're going to see in 1955 when we get there. We see the flyer to save the bell tower, which is important. We meet the mayor. We see like the mayor's campaigning, I should say. Did they do enough to explore, or do you think they did too much to explore the town?
Well, no, it was perfect
Perfect
because even to me, who sometimes when I'm watching films that I'm forced to watch doesn't pay much attention, could notice the when he's back in the past, the differences.
The little references.
Yeah,
so good. We meet the family. The dad is a loser. He's a submissive kind of personality to Biff, right? Does all of his work for him at the office. Biff destroys the family car and blames McFly for not telling him that the car had a blind spot. Brilliant. We meet the mom who's like a kind of a drunk. She's angry. She's very conservative. Yells at her daughter, saying, "You can't ask a boy out." She's full of regret. There's a remembrance of the past with her.
Yeah.
The brother is a loser,
boomer.
deadbeat.
Just joking.
The sister wants independence, but she's bullied by her mom because she can't get a date, and the mom thinks it's her, like she should not be asking. She's like, then no one will ever ask me. Or anything stand out? Anything stand out at you with the family?
No. Well, the mother was a little bit, she was like smoking, just judging everybody's move. Like, these girls shouldn't be doing that. I don't like that girl that you're dating. See, I would never hang out with a boy alone in this car. So they say certain things that when you watch the movie is a little bit different. And that's all I'm going to say so far.
I'm not going to argue. We meet Doc. Doc Emmett Brown. Christopher Lloyd's character. That night, Doc has something to show Marty. He's made a breakthrough in what he's been working on. And they have to meet at the mall. And the Doc arrives with this DeLorean. What are your thoughts on the car?
Isn't that like... At the time, it was like some big time car that was supposed to make lots of money, but it didn't make any money.
Flop. It's only known because of Back to the Future. Back to the Future has made that car iconic forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why it would flop. The doors open like that's so cool.
Yeah, I thought that car looked cool, but I guess people didn't. Don't worry, the Tesla truck's gonna save it.
No, that's all you gotta say?
What?
That's all you want to say to that?
Yeah. Tesla truck for life, baby.
Okay. So this experiment that the dog has, he says this car is going to need plutonium to run.
Yeah,
and he gets it from the Libyans.
Yeah, who also stole it from.
Did you
Did
catch?
he steal it for the?
He stole it for the He stole it. The Libyans stole it to build a nuclear bomb. They gave it to the doc to build it.
Yeah.
But the doc's like, I gave him a fair. He made up some parts.
Yeah. And
now,
then it was stolen in the radio. They were talking about
at the beginning.
It was stolen.
Yeah. So the car they put the dog Einstein in the car, and it goes to drive around, and the car is running right towards them. And Marty wants to move. He's filming this, but Doc kind of grabs him to keep him close to him. And the car just disappears as it's going to hit them.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that scene? Isn't that not the coolest, one of the coolest scenes ever?
I mean, for the time, yes.
That's iconic.
Whatever. I guess.
Anyway, the Libyans arrive and they kill Doc. Marty jumps into the car. And in this car chase scene... he forgets that there's plutonium. I guess he doesn't realize that there's plutonium in the car, and he gets to 88 miles an hour, and he travels back to 1955. But he doesn't realize that. So when he crashes the car into a barn, the whole mall is gone. It's this barn.
Yes, these old people, I guess.
This family who thinks he's an alien because they have this comic book of the car that looks kind of like an alien, and he walks.
Spaceship.
And I mean, so good.
A DeLorean definitely would look like a spaceship to somebody in the 50s.
Isn't that a nice touch to have that kind of comic book reference too, though?
Yeah.
So, but it would look, and then he has the radiation suit, which definitely would look alien.
It looks like a space helmet and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So he tries to drive back home, but the homes haven't been built yet. They're in the process. The bell tower is working. He sees a newspaper for 1955. The mayor is working at the diner that he goes into, and then we meet Biff. And Biff's hilarious, and as our producers told us, Biff Tom Wilson ad-libbed a lot of his lines from the film, and he is hilarious as Biff. I know you don't think he's funny, but I think it's hilarious, where he can't get the colloquialisms right. Like, why don't you make like a tree and get the hell out of here? It's leave. It's make like a tree and leave.
Yeah. I didn't even get that, but
he says all of them, and he's always giving the wrong colloquialism, the saying.
Oh, okay.
So he meets his dad, who is doing all Biff's homework for him, like he is in 1985.
Yeah.
And he gets even some of the stuff he says is he's like, "Can I get a Coke?" And he's like, "Sorry, a Pepsi free." And he's like, "If you want a Pepsi, you have to pay for it." And can I have a tab? If you want to, you got to order something before you can start a tab. Just something like the lineage is so funny. Like, I mean, maybe, you just you don't have a good sense of humor.
I don't know. I think the things that I find funny are pretty popular. So maybe you don't have.
Actually, Back to the Future is one of the most popular movies ever. So it's made more money in 1985 than any other movie. So let's talk about popularity. If you can't like Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's 1985. Whoa, that's
still relevant today.
People's humors have evolved since then.
So he follows his dad, and his dad is spying on his mom. Not at the time they didn't know each other yet. He was spying on him, and he falls off a tree, and her dad is about to hit him with the car, and that's how they're supposed to meet.
Yeah.
But Marty jumps in, pushes it out of the way, and he gets hit by the car, and then the mom starts to fall for Marty. What would you do if you found yourself in the year that your parents met? Like, what would you do?
I probably wouldn't try to see what my parents were like.
You wouldn't want to see how your parents were like?
No. Because I'd
So,
be scared because of Back to the Future knowledge. I'd be scared I'd
oh,
never in the future.
so what would you do then if you travel back to the year your parents met? What would you do?
I would try to win the lottery and invest in stocks that would make a lot of money.
We should watch Back to the Future too. So his mom thinks he's
Oh, interesting. I want to watch it. I have that.
When he wakes up, his mom, or Lorraine we'll call her now because she's the same age as Marty, calls him Calvin Klein. He's like, why do you call me Calvin Klein? Because his underwear.
It's all his name, and I guess he wasn't. Yeah, Calvin Klein didn't have underwear. Didn't make underwear.
I don't know. Yeah, nope. So he eats dinner with his grandparents, and he's asking for the address, and they're like, the street he says, like, oh, that's where John F. Kennedy is. And they're like, who the hell's John F. Kennedy? Because Kennedy wasn't elected yet.
Yeah.
So he goes to see the doc, and he goes in. The doc has this like mind-reading invention, and the doc thinks that Marty's basically anything except from the future. And when Marty finally tells him, he's like, yeah, that means this machine doesn't work, and I'm a loser. And he goes to walk away, but Marty's like, Doc, you gotta help me. I'm telling the truth. And okay, big shot. Who's president in 1985? And Marty's like, Ronald Reagan. The actor?
Yeah. That was probably
in 1955, Ronald Reagan was an actor. So good.
That was probably the best joke they had.
Oh,
in the entire.
You're so wrong. There were so many good jokes.
That's the best one.
So what gets him to realize that he's telling the truth is he explains the flux capacitor, and Doc realizes this. What would it take you to believe that someone came from the future to come talk to you? What would they have to know for you to believe them?
I don't know. About me?
Yes.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't believe anybody. I just think they're on drugs.
I'm sure there's something that they could do.
How do you prove you're from the future?
They tell you something only you would know.
That's in the future? Like something that's only...
That,
I guess, something about myself that I haven't told anybody?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah. But I'm not saying it on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I was just trying to trick you. You saw right through it. So the plan is to get him back to the future. However, the plutonium is not really accessible to Doc Brown. So they need to create 1.21 gigawatts. 1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, and they have nothing that has that power.
Only lightning, but they have no idea where lightning strikes. Flyer for the bell tower that got hit by lightning a week from their day in 1955. So they are going to do that. However, Marty starts explaining that he wants to go see his parents and how their lives were. But the doc wants to see the picture of his family again, but the family started to disappear because he stopped his parents from meeting, so he will never be born. Isn't this premise hilarious? That he has to get his parents together?
Hilarious. I don't know about that. Interesting, yes.
It's interesting and hilarious. So the next day he goes to school and he tries to convince his dad to get into his mom. But he's not interested at all. He's too shy. He hides his writing, etc., etc. A lot of what Marty is like. But how he's going to convince him, which again is brilliant, is that night he has a Walkman. He places the earphones into the Walkman. He plays the music, this rock and roll music that wouldn't have existed in the 1950s, really, really loud to wake him up. He's wearing his alien suit. His radioactive suit. Says he's Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, and uses all these sci-fi references. Again, do you not think this is hilarious?
Was Star Trek?
60s.
Oh, no, right before. Okay, that makes sense. What are they like? Never mind. But yeah, I guess
he might realize it in the 60s. Like, wait a minute, Vulcan. That sounds familiar. I know someone from the planet Vulcan.
Yeah.
So at the diner, George is now convinced he's got to do something. So Marty gives him a line, Lorraine, I'm your destiny. However, Biff walks in and he's going to go yell at George. Marty trips him, which leads to the skateboard chase.
Yeah.
Did you like that scene?
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then they fell in crap at the end.
Yeah.
They're full of crap.
Manure. I hate manure. I thought it was great. It makes the outcome is it makes the mom like Marty even more.
Yeah.
Or Calvin. So the new plan, his mom asks him to the dance that he's supposed to go with his dad. So Marty agrees, and he's going to try to hit on the mom. And it doesn't quite work out that way because the mom is all for it, and she's drinking and all of this, and Marty's like, no, I can't do it.
Drinking, smoking.
Yeah, can't do it. And then the mom goes to make the first move to kiss Marty, and like she realizes something's off.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
they
her
have to
brother.
do that though, right?
That's weird. I would never want to kiss my mom.
I
That's
know.
super cringe.
Yeah, but it's not like he wanted to. He's like backed away from it. But Biff comes and grabs Marty and throws him away. And he's now
roughs him up.
He's now going to hit on or try to take advantage of Lorraine. When George comes in to kind of to rough off Marty to look like a hero, Biff's there. And he doesn't know what to do. He freezes for a second, but he kind of, he's a good person, George. So he's like, Biff, you got to take your hands off her. And he goes to punch him, but Biff grabs his arm. And for the first time in his life, George stands up to Biff, punches him out, and takes Lorraine into the dance.
And then they almost disappear.
Well, did you like that sequence?
Where they punch
Biff, like George kind of growing a pair?
Punch Biff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice for what happened. I liked it.
Did you realize that was going to change everything in the future?
Yeah, of course it was. He never punched Biff before in the face.
Yeah,
he changed it for the better.
Now, he can't go home quite yet because when the musician cut his hand, so he can't play.
Yeah.
And it would end the dance, which means they don't kiss. If they don't kiss, they don't get together.
Yeah.
So Marty has to play the guitar, and everything's going good. They kiss, everything's happy, and there's like one more song. They play Johnny Be Good. And did you catch that the singer of that band who was singing like Earth Angel and all that was his last name was Berry, and he went to call Chuck Berry, who actually wrote the song. He's like, that new sound you were looking for? Listen to this. It's his song.
Yeah.
Because it came out a year later in 1956. Again, a classic. Did you notice all the kind of moves that he was doing with the guitar were all the different musicians? Yeah.
And then he's like, "This is called rock. You guys might not like it, but your kids are gonna love it."
Oh, it's so true. They're gonna like it too. It comes out a year later. So Doc, he goes to see the doc. He tries to tell the doc, like, "Hey, like in the future, this is gonna happen," but Doc wants to hear nothing of it because he doesn't want to know. So he writes him a letter, and pardon?
He doesn't want to ruin the
it's just like what happened to you, right? He doesn't want to do that. So he writes him a letter that says, "Do not open until the date of which he's supposed to die." Yeah. But he rips the letter in front of him, so he's going to die. So Marty's like, "Oh, I can just go back 10 minutes earlier, and I can save Doc, right? That way." I really like this relationship between Marty and the Doc. It's like a good friendship.
Yeah.
Did you like the climax? Like the wire got knocked down by a tree. The Doc has to go climb the bell tower.
No.
What?
It's kind of
with the music. Oh my god, it's so good. It's fantastic.
I was like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, this isn't done yet. Just let him back in the future. Just put him back there, please.
Wow. Okay. Whatever. I loved it. I'm sure the audience loved it. Back home, Marty tries to come back 10 minutes earlier to save the Doc. However, the car breaks down, so he has to go run, and he gets back there just a minute too soon. When he goes to see the Doc's alive. He's like, "How did you know?" And he pulls out the letter that he rips. And he's like, "What about the future?" He's like, I thought, what the hell? Was it a satisfied ending to you?
Yeah, they're happy, and then we're straight to a sequel where there's going.
No, I'm talking about with the Doc living.
Oh yeah, why not? There's gonna be a sequel.
So
because there's 3.
So Marty wakes up the next day, And the family's changed. The mom and dad are happy together. There's a new book. Mom's in great shape. They're in love. The mom actually likes Jennifer, the girlfriend that she didn't like at
Brother's
the
not
beginning.
a deadbeat.
Yeah, he's got a job. Sister has so many dates she doesn't know what to do with. And Biff's the guy washing the car.
Yeah.
Everything is good. Now, is that satisfying?
Yeah, it was good. I like it.
So the doc returns, and the kids need help in the future. So Jennifer can come too. And then it's like, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Did you like the ending that the doc comes back?
Yeah, why not? It's going to be a sequel.
Well, that's a funny story, though. Bob Zemeckis, when he wrote this, he did not envision a sequel. In fact, he regrets that scene. Because he regrets putting Jennifer in the car. Because now it handcuffed him to what he could do. So the second and the third movie only became the second and third movie because Jennifer went in that car. If Jennifer didn't get in that car, if he just went in the car by himself, he would have written a different second movie, he said.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's not like the second movie was a must, right? The first movie came out in 85. The second didn't come out till 89.
Oh, wow.
So like this wasn't like, oh, we're coming out with a sequel right away kind of thing. Does this make you want to watch 2 and 3?
Yeah, I'll check them out. Are they good?
I like the first the best. I like the third, the second the best. The second's okay, but the second has a very interesting concept. But like the director said, that he was kind of handcuffed of what he could do.
Okay, interesting.
Who's your favorite character?
I guess Marty.
Favorite side character? Fine. Can't say Marty. Can't say Doc.
Who else is there? Nobody else.
Biff, Lorraine, George.
Biff sucks. They're all kind of the best characters are Doc and Marty.
Oh, you're so fine. Okay.
Who's your favorite?
Oh my, it's definitely Biff. Biff's hilarious.
Biff sucks.
He's an absolute just loser, and he thinks he's so cool. He's so funny. I hate George. George to me is the worst character.
Whatever.
Even Lorraine is so funny. You're my ma. You're my ma. You're my. So
All right.
good. All right, I'm done talking about Back to the Future. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
No.
All right, what are you giving Back to the Future out of 10?
I'm giving this a 8.5 out of 10.
Guess what I'm giving it?
A 10.
Solid 10. I go higher if it was possible.
You can't.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Unless maybe 100 out of 100 if you want.
Yeah,
There
but
you go.
it's the same percentage.
Yeah.
100%. It's a phenomenal movie. Everyone should be watching this movie. If you've never seen Back to the Future, get out, watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. Do it. Anything else you want to talk about today?
No, I just want to go to bed.
All right. Well,
Cry myself to sleep because I didn't think I have a bad sense of humor.
you do have a bad sense of humor. Anyways, next week on the pod. That's it for us this week. Next week on the podcast, Jumanji: The Next Level, Black Christmas, and we'll be recasting The Matrix.
Oh, controversial. Oh, no.
We're going to try that segment one more time. It worked out well last time.
We're going to keep trying it, and we're not going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Anyways, guys, you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you later. Forever.